After capturing the world's attention with her extraordinary voice, Aretha Franklin's life was far from perfect. Behind the fame and admiration, she faced deep personal struggles that many never saw. Her childhood was marked by hardship, including unstable family circumstances and early exposure to music amidst chaos. As she rose to become the Queen of Soul, she also battled issues with health, overwork, and the emotional toll of living in the spotlight. Relationships in her personal life were often difficult, and she struggled with feelings of loneliness and disappointment. Despite her incredible talent, she faced the challenge of balancing her public image with private pain. Her fight for self-respect and acceptance was ongoing, complicated by systemic racism and gender inequality. She worked tirelessly to maintain her career, but personal sacrifices left scars. Ultimately, her story reveals a woman who endured great adversity while inspiring millions with her voice. Her life exemplifies resilience, showing that even the strongest figures carry unseen wounds. As we delve deeper, we'll uncover the hidden truths behind her captivating music and examine how her struggles shaped her legacy. Her story is a testament to courage and persistence in the face of overwhelming hardships. From the moment Aretha Franklin was born on March 25, 1942, in Memphis, Tennessee, her life was deeply connected to music and faith. Growing up in a home filled with religious devotion and artistic expression, she learned early on that music was more than just entertainment. It was a way to express her spirituality and her feelings. Her father, Reverend C.L. Franklin, was a famous Baptist minister known for his powerful voice and inspiring sermons that earned him the nickname the man with the $1,000,000 voice. Her mother, Barbara Siggers Franklin, was a talented pianist and singer, but because of the traditional roles women faced at that time, her musical contributions often went unrecognized. When Aretha was just 6, her parents separated, and her mother died when she was only 10. This loss was heavy for her, and she carried her grief with her, using her faith and music to help overcome it. After her mother's death, she was mainly raised by her grandmother, Rachel Franklin, in Detroit. Surrounded by gospel singers like Mahalia Jackson and Clara Ward, she grew up in an environment filled with singing, praising, and musical mentoring. She learned to play the piano at a young age, often by ear, and displayed natural talent that amazed those around her. Their home was not only a place of worship, but also a gathering spot for important figures of the civil rights movement, including Martin Luther King Jr. and Sam Cooke. Aretha's voice, heard singing in her father's church, combined technical skill with deep emotional power. This ability to touch people's hearts and spirits through her singing became her signature. Her early years showed a mix of purpose and vulnerability as she worked through personal hardships using her faith and music as sources of strength. Certainly, Aretha Franklin's early singing career and recognition began when her prodigious talent was impossible to hide. Despite facing personal struggles and the emotional loss of her mother, she quickly rose as a powerful singer in the gospel scene. At only 12 years old, she started touring with her father's gospel caravan, performing solo numbers that stunned audiences. Her presence on stage was captivating. She was calm and poised, yet her voice was full of strength and emotion. Reverend C.L. Franklin saw her gift and supported her dreams, helping her record her first songs with JVB Records. These early recordings were raw, but they showed her amazing vocal range and her special talent for playing the piano, which was rare for someone so young. By her teens, many major music figures noticed her. Sam Cooke, who had successfully moved from gospel to secular music, saw her potential too. Quincy Jones also admired her, recognizing how she mixed gospel and soul with the modern sounds of pop and R&B. Even though she didn't finish high school, Aretha understood music deeply and intuitively. She could tell stories through her singing with feeling that touched people. Her father carefully guided her from gospel to more mainstream music and kept her image protected. But Aretha was eager to create her own path. At 18, she moved to New York and signed with Columbia Records. Her early songs there showed her versatility, from jazz to blues, even if they didn't fully catch her gospel power. These years were important in shaping her voice and style, setting her up to become a legendary artist. Even during her early career struggles, her reputation as a unique and powerful singer continued to grow steadily. Since her childhood, Aretha Franklin's activism was an integral part of who she was, not something she added later in her career. By the age of 16, she was already involved in the civil rights movement. She traveled and performed at rallies and churches, often alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was a close family friend. Her performances during those years were more than just singing, they were acts of spiritual support and strength for Black communities in the South. Aretha recognized that her voice held great power, and she used it to inspire hope and stand for justice. When Dr. King was tragically assassinated in 1968, Aretha was deeply affected. She paid tribute to him at his funeral with her heartfelt rendition of Precious Lord, Take My Hand. This moment was more than a musical performance, it was her way of honoring her mentor and expressing her sorrow. It also became a symbol of mourning for the nation. After turning 18, Aretha decided to move to New York City to build a career in mainstream music. She signed with Columbia Records, but her time there was challenging. Despite praise for her voice, Columbia's producers pushed her toward a polished pop and jazz sound that did not reflect her true style. Her gospel foundation and soulful spirit were often toned down, leaving her recordings feeling distant from her real identity. The important change came in 1967 when she signed with Atlantic Records. Under producer Jerry Wexler, she was encouraged to reconnect with her gospel roots. This shift gave her creative freedom and allowed her to sing with more emotion and authenticity. Her music changed instantly, becoming more passionate, soulful, and truthful. She was no longer just singing, she was preaching through her songs, sharing her truths with the world. While the Queen of Soul era at Atlantic Records marked a significant turning point in Aretha Franklin's career, it also transformed the landscape of American music forever. During this time, her collaboration with producer Jerry Wexler and a group of talented musicians rooted in gospel created an environment where her true vocal power could flourish. With the support of notable artists like Billy Preston, King Curtis, and the Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section, Aretha was able to fully express herself through her music. In 1967, she released I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, which showcased her raw, emotional voice and authentic sound. This song was a revelation, capturing the attention of audiences and critics alike. Her subsequent hits, Respect, Chain of Fools, and Think, became more than chart achievements, they became cultural symbols. Respect transformed from a song into a rallying cry for both the civil rights movement and feminism as Aretha infused it with a demand for dignity and equality. Her music during this period was layered with politics, personal strength, and spirituality, with each performance serving as an act of independence and resilience. She wasn't simply called the Queen of Soul. She embodied the role through her powerful voice and unwavering spirit. Her 1972 live gospel album, Amazing Grace, stands out as one of her most significant accomplishments. Recorded in Los Angeles at the New Temple Missionary Baptist Church, the album reflected her spiritual roots. With gospel legend James Cleveland with her, Aretha delivered a heartfelt performance that touched listeners deeply, making Amazing Grace one of the best-selling gospel albums ever produced. Despite her international fame, Aretha remained close to her roots and family. When her father, C.L. Franklin, was shot during a burglary and fell into a coma, she returned to Detroit in 1982 to care for him. She stayed by his side until his death in 1984, demonstrating her loyalty and deep values. Her acts of compassion offstage reflected her true character and enduring strength. Despite achieving enormous success in the mainstream music world, Aretha Franklin never forgot where she came from or her spiritual roots. Gospel music was always her guiding light, providing her with strength and comfort during difficult times. Her singing was more than just entertainment, it was a form of ministry. When she sang, whether it was a powerful gospel hymn or a soulful ballad, listeners could feel the divine purpose behind her voice. Her music conveyed a sense of faith and hope that touched people deeply around the world. Even though she had a big fear of flying, which limited her trips abroad, she remained a highly regarded performer. She appeared at important events like presidential inaugurations, national ceremonies, and many concerts across the United States. Her fear of flying did not stop her influence from spreading beyond borders, because her music was shared through recordings and broadcasts. Over the years, her voice stayed strong, and her gospel-inspired singing never lost its passion or power. She often turned to her faith to find strength during times of grief, illness, or disappointment, which added depth to her performances and personal life. Her return to Detroit was more than just moving back to her hometown. It was a meaningful return to her roots, her family, and the city that helped shape her musical and spiritual journey. In Detroit, she became an active part of the community, supporting churches, schools, and local events. Through her actions and music, she demonstrated her lifelong devotion to family, faith, and service. No matter how much music changed or new trends emerged, Her deep spiritual foundation kept her work timeless. She continued to blend sacred themes with secular songs, creating music that spoke to the soul, offering comfort, strength, and inspiration. Her legacy is built on the bridge she created between heaven and earth, gospel and soul, suffering and hope, leaving a lasting mark on music and spirituality. Despite facing early life challenges that could have broken anyone, Aretha Franklin showed remarkable strength and resilience. She became a mother when she was only 12 years old, giving birth to her first son, Clarence, named after her father. Later, a handwritten will revealed that Edward Jordan was the father of Clarence, along with her second son Edward, born when Aretha was just 14, and also fathered by Edward Jordan. Balancing young motherhood with her rising career, Aretha relied heavily on her grandmother and older sister Irma Franklin, who helped raise her children while she traveled and recorded music. Her private life was filled with responsibility, sacrifice, and emotional struggles that she kept mostly away from the public eye. Her marriage to Ted White, her former manager, brought her a third son, Ted White Jr., but also brought hardship. The marriage was troubled, filled with accusations of domestic violence and manipulation, which left lasting scars on her trust and self-esteem. Despite these difficulties, Aretha was deeply protective of her children, working tirelessly to support them and shielding them from the spotlight whenever she could. She often brought her children on tour or took time between shows to stay connected. During her relationships, she showed a resilient devotion to her family. Through all these personal struggles, her faith played a vital role. When faced with pain, she turned to prayer, scripture, and gospel music for comfort and strength. Her faith was genuine and personal, shaped by her hardships and her perseverance. Even in her last performances, though frail, her voice exuded a spiritual power that touched everyone in the audience. Her spirituality was not for show, but a core part of who she was, helping her endure life's hardships and remain steadfast in her belief. Her performances carried not just musical talent, but a deep, spiritual message that inspired many. While achieving incredible success as a singer and performer, Aretha Franklin experienced motherhood in a way that was both extraordinary and filled with hardship. She had her first child at the age of 12, which surprises many because it happened so early in her life. Despite her young age, she became a mother and faced many emotional and practical difficulties because of this. Her first son, Clarence, was named after her father, Reverend C.L. Franklin, and he was born into a world where Aretha was still very much a girl herself. Only 2 years later, at age 14, she gave birth to her second son, Edward. The father of both children was Edward Jordan, a fact that was revealed later when a handwritten will was found after Aretha's death. This document revealed some painful truths about her early relationships and the quiet, hidden struggles she faced. Even though she was so young and her early life was touched by trauma, Aretha was determined to follow her dream of making music. With her grandmother and sister Irma's help, she managed to balance her growing family with her intense work schedule, including studio recordings and long trips around the country. Her home life was often secretive because she wanted to protect her children from the media and public attention. This desire for privacy stayed with her throughout her rise to fame, as she always tried to shield her family from the harsh glare of the spotlight. During her marriage to her first husband, Ted White, she gave birth to her third son, Teddy White Jr. Later, she had her youngest child, Kickoff Cunningham, with her road manager Ken Cunningham. Although Aretha had many difficulties in her romantic relationships, her love for her children was strong and unwavering. She worked very hard to give them a good life, often sacrificing her own feelings and happiness so they could have a sense of normalcy. Through all her career achievements, she remained a dedicated, sometimes single, mother trying her best to balance fame and family life, providing her children with stability and love amid the chaos. Despite her incredible talent, Aretha Franklin endured a difficult and painful chapter in her life through her marriage to Ted White. She married him when she was only 18, hoping that he would bring stability and guidance during a time when her career was beginning to grow. At first, their relationship seemed promising because Ted was not only her husband, but also worked as her manager and collaborator. He helped her write some songs and made decisions that shaped her early career. This created a sense of creative teamwork, and Aretha felt optimistic about her future. However, behind the scenes, things were far from perfect. Ted White was known to be controlling, often trying to keep her under his influence. Many people who knew them said he was emotionally and physically abusive. Aretha was very private and rarely talked publicly about the difficult parts of their marriage. but her close friends and family could see how much she suffered. The emotional pain left a deep mark on her, making her more guarded and cautious. She became less trusting of those who wanted to control her life. Their marriage ended in 1968 after a severe incident backstage that involved violence, bringing her personal relationship with Ted to an end. This turning point allowed Aretha to focus more on her own instincts and talents. Freed from Ted's control, she began to stand up for herself more confidently, choosing her own team to support her. The painful experience influenced her music, giving her songs greater emotional depth. Tracks like Respect, A Natural Woman, and Ain't No Way reflected struggles of love, independence, and resilience. These songs resonated deeply with listeners, especially women who understood themes of fighting for life and self-worth. Her pain became a source of strength, inspiring many through her music and her example. After the end of her first marriage, Aretha Franklin found a new life with Glyn Turman. In 1978, after about 10 years of being single and focusing on her music and family, she married the actor known for his work in theater and film. Their marriage was based on mutual respect and admiration, which was obvious to everyone who saw them together. Aretha became a loving stepmother to Turman's 3 children from previous relationships. The couple was often seen at events supporting each other's careers, showing a strong bond of friendship and affection. Even though their marriage was happy, it faced challenges because they lived far apart. Aretha stayed mostly in Detroit, where her family and roots were, while Turman's acting career mainly kept him in Los Angeles. Over time, the distance became too difficult to overcome, and they divorced in 1984. Unlike her first marriage, this separation was peaceful and free of scandal. Afterward, they remained friends and continued to support each other, sometimes working together and sharing their lives in a respectful way. This relationship showed Aretha's ability to forgive and grow emotionally. It also illustrated her strength in staying graceful during difficult times, and how she valued meaningful relationships even when romantic love was no longer there. Her marriage to Glyn Turman symbolized her hope for stability and her capacity to love again despite past struggles. From the beginning of her career, Aretha Franklin's activism was an important part of who she was, not just an extra activity. She was involved in civil rights and social justice issues because she believed deeply in fairness and human dignity. She started working closely with leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., traveling and performing at events to support their efforts. Her work went beyond words. She actively helped in ways that made a real difference. For example, in the 1970s, when Angela Davis was jailed, Aretha offered to pay her bail. She explained that she wanted to use her resources to support her community, emphasizing that the money came from Black people and should be used to help Black people. Throughout her life, she participated in benefit concerts, marches, and political gatherings, always standing up for what she believed in. Her famous songs like Respect and Think became more than hits. They became symbols of strength for civil rights and women's rights. Aretha knew the power of her music and intentionally used it to inspire change. She also cared about issues beyond just civil rights, supporting Native American rights and fighting against apartheid in South Africa. She was fearless in her actions, unafraid of facing criticism or backlash when taking a stand. What made her activism so meaningful was her genuine commitment. She didn't do it to gain fame, but because she truly believed in justice. She used everything she had, her voice, her money, her influence, to make a difference. Her work in social justice was driven by compassion, strength, and a firm belief that every person deserves respect and dignity. After years of fame and emotional struggles, Aretha Franklin found a new sense of peace in her later years through her relationship with Willie Wilkerson. Despite being a former firefighter and a Vietnam War veteran, Willie was unlike others in her past because he was genuinely supportive and didn't seek attention or the spotlight. Their connection grew into a stable and caring bond that became a safe haven for Aretha, especially as she faced serious health problems. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, which was a difficult and painful battle that lasted for years. Throughout this challenging time, Willie was always by her side, offering comfort during her many hospital stays and quiet days at home. He acted not only as her confidant, but also as an informal caregiver, helping her manage her needs with kindness and respect. Their relationship was never about vows or formal titles, but rather about a consistent, genuine affection that provided Aretha with a feeling of security and warmth. She trusted him deeply, and his presence helped her face her health concerns with strength. Unlike some of her previous relationships that had often been turbulent and marked by heartbreak, her bond with Willie Wilkerson demonstrated her capacity for deep, trusting love. Their connection was built on loyalty, understanding, and quiet devotion, showing that even in the later years of her life, after fame had brought both joy and hardship, Aretha Franklin still believed in the power of enduring love. A love that was simple, steady, and rooted in sincere caring. Because of her deep roots in family, Aretha Franklin's life was heavily influenced by her siblings and the losses they faced. Her sisters, Carolyn and Irma Franklin, were more than just family members. They were her close friends and trusted collaborators. They sang together many times, sharing vocals that reflected their close bond and their spiritual connection. Their voices blended perfectly, creating harmonies that felt almost sacred, and their shared experiences grew from childhood church performances to singing on big stages. The music they made together was more than just entertainment. It was a reflection of their love, joy, and the struggles they had faced as a family. Her brother Cecil played an important role as well, acting as her manager for many years. He was a steady presence who protected her from challenges in her career, helping her deal with record deals and industry issues. Cecil's calmness and loyalty gave her strength during difficult times. When he died in 1989, it was a huge loss for Aretha, and she never fully recovered from losing him. Later, she faced the deaths of Carolyn and Irma, which left her feeling empty and heartbroken. The most tragic event in her family was when her father, Reverend C.L. Franklin, was shot during a home invasion in 1979. He was badly injured and remained in a coma for 5 years until he died in 1984. Aretha stayed by his side through his suffering, putting much of her work aside to care for him. This time stretched her emotionally and showed her deep love and loyalty for her family. Even when she was at her most famous, she still focused on caring for her loved ones, showing the strong values she learned growing up. These family tragedies left emotional scars that stayed with her, but they also gave her strength and purpose, reminding her of her roots and what truly mattered in life. Throughout the later years of her life, Aretha Franklin found a special kind of companionship and support in Willie Wilkerson, a Vietnam War veteran and retired firefighter. Their relationship grew over many years and became one of the most steady and grounding connections she had. Although they were briefly engaged in 2012, Aretha decided to call off the wedding to avoid drawing too much attention and media coverage. Despite this, their bond remained strong, and they stayed close. Willie became her trusted confidant, someone she could count on when she needed help or comfort. He was there to protect her and offer his support during her final years, standing by her side at many public events. He also stayed with her during times when her health was fragile, providing quiet strength without fuss. Willie understood that Aretha valued her privacy and independence, and he always respected her boundaries. Their relationship gave her peace and stability after a life filled with ups and downs, emotional pain, and sometimes difficult relationships. It was more than just love. It was a true friendship based on trust and loyalty. Through Willie, Aretha Franklin experienced the kind of honest, uncomplicated love she had long been searching for, a love that brought her comfort and a sense of security in her last years. After establishing herself as the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin formed friendships that went far beyond simple professional alliances. She cared deeply for her friends in the music world, and her relationships often felt like family bonds. One of the most notable friendships was with Whitney Houston, a young singer whose voice was also considered a gift from above. Although some people wrongly called Aretha Whitney's godmother, the truth was that their connection was much more personal and genuine. Whitney affectionately called Aretha Auntie Ree, a sign of the close bond they shared across generations. Aretha saw herself in Whitney, recognizing the struggles of fame, high expectations, and personal challenges that every talented woman faces. When Whitney Houston died in 2012, Aretha was scheduled to sing at her memorial. However, she suddenly became ill and had to cancel. Her decision showed how deeply she felt the loss. She did not want to exploit the moment, but instead grieved privately. Later, she honored Whitney in her own way, honoring the emotional weight of losing her close friend. Aretha also maintained strong friendships with other legendary women like Dionne Warwick and Mavis Staples. These friendships brought her comfort, laughter, and understanding, especially as the music industry changed and many peers passed away. With these women, Aretha Franklin found sisterhood and support, which helped her endure the lonely aspects of her fame. Certainly, here is the detailed script based on the given summary about Aretha Franklin's health struggles and resilience throughout her life. Aretha Franklin faced many health challenges that threatened her career and personal happiness. In her earlier years, she struggled with emotional eating, which led to weight fluctuations that sometimes affected her confidence and her voice. She also had habits like smoking, which she continued for years. Smoking made her voice tired and less powerful, but she found the strength to quit. In 1992, Aretha decided to stop smoking, and this was an important moment for her. Quitting smoking helped her regain strength in her voice and improved her overall health, allowing her to perform with renewed energy and passion. She enjoyed performing in front of crowds in her 50s and 60s, showing that she could overcome her struggles. However, she faced more health problems in later years. During the 2000s, her health declined again, and in 2010, she underwent a major surgery in secret. Though she never shared the details, her friends revealed she had been fighting a serious illness, which was later understood to be a rare form of pancreatic cancer. Despite these difficulties, Aretha kept performing. Her faith, her love of music, and her dedication to her fans gave her strength. Even when her health worsened, she continued to sing and inspire others. In 2017, she announced her retirement, saying she wanted to enjoy more time with her grandchildren and live peacefully. Yet, she still appeared at special events, including her unforgettable 2015 performance of A Natural Woman, which moved President Obama and many others. Though her voice had become weathered with age, it still carried the deep emotion and spirit that made her legendary. By 2018, her health was very fragile. She was placed in hospice care at her home in Detroit. Surrounded by family and friends, Aretha Franklin passed away peacefully on August 16, 2018, at the age of 76. Her final days were filled with love, dignity, and grace. Her life showed incredible strength and resilience, and her memory continues to inspire millions around the world. Her journey proves that even in the face of serious health hurdles, determination and faith can help us endure and find peace. Since Aretha Franklin's passing marked the end of an era, people around the world responded with deep respect and admiration for her life and work. Tributes poured in from many quarters, including fellow artists, political leaders, civil rights activists, and fans of all ages. President Barack Obama praised her music as a glimpse of the divine, emphasizing how her powerful voice touched souls and uplifted spirits. Civil rights leader Al Sharpton spoke of her lifelong commitment to justice and equality, recognizing her not only as a musical icon, but also as a symbol of resilience and strength. The memorial services for Aretha Franklin were grand and emotional, bringing together thousands of mourners to honor her memory. These events featured heartfelt performances, gospel tributes, and reflections on her extraordinary life. Her public viewing drew huge crowds, as many wanted to pay their respects and remember her influence. Aretha's death was caused by a rare form of pancreatic cancer, a diagnosis she kept private for years while quietly fighting for her life. Despite her battle with a terminal illness, she never let it define her or diminish her purpose. Following her death, her estate went into probate, sparking a legal battle over her assets. Initial estimates suggested her fortune was around $80 million, but later reports indicated it was closer to $18 million due to decades of informal management and her reluctance to work with financial planners. She retained rights to many of her hit songs and owned parts of several recordings, which continued to generate income for her family. The discovery of handwritten wills in her Detroit home added more complications and raised questions about her final wishes, legal standing, and family dynamics. Nevertheless, her cultural legacy remains intact and powerful. Aretha Franklin was more than just a singer. She was a symbol of resilience, grace, and unmatched talent. Her influence endures through the voices of countless artists she inspired, the movements she helped empower, and in the hearts of millions who found strength, healing, and joy in her songs. After Aretha Franklin's passing on August 16, 2018, a wave of love, reverence, and reflection swept across the world, showing just how deeply she was admired and loved. Her death marked the end of an era in music history. In her hometown of Detroit, thousands gathered at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History to pay their respects. Her body was laid in a gold-plated casket, dressed in stunning outfits of red, blue, gold, and other regal colors, each representing her royalty, her enduring legacy, and her faith. Fans waited in long lines for hours, often in tears, all wanting a final moment with the Queen of Soul. Her funeral, called a homegoing service, was a joyful celebration of her life and her music. It lasted over 8 hours, and included performances by stars like Jennifer Hudson, Chaka Khan, Fantasia, and Stevie Wonder. Politicians and civil rights leaders such as Reverend Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and former President Bill Clinton also spoke, showing how Aretha united people across different fields. The service was broadcast worldwide, reminding everyone of her power to bring people together. Outside the church, tributes appeared everywhere. In New York City, subway signs simply said "Respect" to honor her. The Apollo Theater's marquee shone brightly with her name. Major award shows like the Grammys and American Music Awards opened with special tributes, with modern artists singing her greatest songs. Each performance paid homage to her and the legacy she left behind. These acts of tribute went beyond nostalgia. They recognized that Aretha Franklin was more than just a singer. She was a national treasure, a figure whose influence reached into the hearts of millions around the world. After Aretha Franklin's death, her financial situation became a subject of much public interest and complexity. She did not leave a formal will or trust, which made her estate go into probate court. This process often leads to long legal battles, and in her case, it resulted in many years of legal disputes among her heirs. Initially, people thought her estate was worth around $80 million, based on estimates at the time of her passing. However, as officials looked closer, they found that her debts, taxes, and unpaid royalties lowered the true value to approximately $18 million. The situation got more complicated when authorities discovered several handwritten wills hidden in her Detroit home. These documents were found inside a notebook and under sofa cushions and described how she wanted her estate divided among her children. Yet, these informal wills raised questions because they were inconsistent in format and undated, making it difficult to prove their authenticity. This led to a lengthy court case where experts had to examine the handwriting and decide Aretha's real wishes. Despite the legal challenges surrounding her estate, her intellectual property remained a valuable asset. She kept the rights to many of her famous recordings and owned part of her publishing and songwriting rights. These assets continue to earn money for her family, helping them keep her legacy alive financially. Beyond courtrooms, the influence of Aretha Franklin continues to be celebrated worldwide. In 2019, a tribute concert called Aretha, a Grammy celebration, brought together famous singers like Alicia Keys, Celine Dion, and John Legend, all performing her classic songs. This event showed how her music still inspires artists today. In 2023, a musical called Aretha, A Love Letter to the Queen of Soul premiered in Australia, paying tribute to her life and music. This show was more than entertainment. It was a heartfelt homage that echoed the powerful emotions and influence of Aretha Franklin's work across different countries and generations. While her voice continues to inspire and her legacy remains unmatched, her life reminds us that greatness often comes with hidden pain. Despite her success, Aretha Franklin faced many personal battles that tested her strength and resilience. Her childhood hardships, the pressure of fame, and the constant struggle to find peace within herself all contributed to her complex story. She was a woman who fought not only for her music career, but also for her dignity and self-worth in a world that often judged her harshly. Her health issues and emotional struggles highlight the toll that her demanding life took on her, even as she succeeded in touching countless lives through her songs. Her relationships were often strained, and her feelings of loneliness reflected the price paid for stardom. Yet, through all these challenges, she remained a powerful symbol of perseverance and hope. Her story shows us that behind the shining star and the roaring applause, there are real people with real struggles. Her life serves as a reminder that resilience can be born from suffering, and true strength comes from facing adversity head-on. The truth behind her tragic life deepens our understanding of her as a person, not just a legend, and her journey continues to inspire